I'd like to welcome y'all back to another episode of Beyond the Fear podcast, the place where y'all come for motivation, inspiration, uplifting, and overall positive message. I'm your host, DJ, and today's episode is about the importance of grace and understanding. I wanted to talk about this subject because I was talking to a random coworker at lunch a few days ago, and I'm the type of person, I'll just ask you how you doing, just to ask. And if you give a regular "I'm all right" type of answer, keep it moving. Or if you be like, hey, life been kind of hitting me or whatever the case may be, I'll ask, like what's going on? Because that's just me. But so this random person that works at my job at lunch, and she's just telling me about some of the things that she's going through in her relationship, and just how her and her boyfriend come from two totally different backgrounds, and so stuff that's commonplace for her, or things that are so obvious to her, are not as obvious to him. Things that she saw growing up with her parents, he didn't see. So these are things that are kind of newer to him. And mind you, I don't know their exact age, but I think they're in their early 20s, I think. So she was just telling me about all of this, kind of telling me how she grew up, how he grew up, and all of that stuff, and just her frustrations with everything. And I told her, like, I was just explaining to her how important it is to come with understanding and with grace, especially if he's trying, if he sees that the things that he's doing are hurting you, upsetting you, and y'all have had conversations about it, and now he's doing the work to make it better. Also, where the understanding comes in is, like me, for example, I'm 35. I'll be 36 in October. I have years, you know, anywhere from 25 to 30 plus years of some bad habits built up. And as I'm working my best and my hardest to clean up those bad habits that I've developed over the years, there may be times where those bad habits, you know, pop back up. And you have to understand that not all of us grew up in peaceful homes. We didn't grow up seeing healthy communication, seeing healthy relationships, seeing people, express themselves in healthy ways, talk about their feelings, talk about what they're going through, learning how to ask for help, learning how to accept help when it's given, um, or when somebody extends their hand, learning how to grab their hand. I think that for a lot of people, those are easy concepts, simple concepts. Hey, when you're going through something, you ask for help, or when you can't do it by yourself, you lean on the people who are around you. Those are for some people who grew up around that, and that was commonplace. That's something that they understand. They don't have to think twice about it. For other people like myself who didn't grow up around it, it's something that you truly don't understand, because you watch, not just I didn't just watch my mom struggle. I watched a lot of my friends' moms struggle. I watched a lot of my friends' moms and my mom go through some not so good relationships, where where healthy communication, talking to each other in a respectful way, wasn't the norm. You know what I'm saying? So you don't grow up with these things. You don't understand these things. So again, where some people might see that as commonplace, like, it just makes sense. For other people, it don't make sense, or it doesn't make as much sense, because it's like, I didn't see that. So I didn't see someone, when they needed help, go ask for help and get the help when it was extended to them. I've seen people struggle. I've seen people come and ask them, "Hey, do you need some help?" "No, I got it. I'm good." Even though they did need the help, and it would have helped them, and it would have helped them get out of that struggle a lot sooner had they accepted the help. So I'm just using that as an example, a real life example of things that I saw that now that I'm older and I know better seems so simple. Hey, you need help, ask for help. Somebody's extending the help, accept the help. But growing up, I didn't see that. So for the longest time, I did not understand that that was not the norm to me, which is you struggling, you're going through something, go ask for help, go get the help that you need. It was no, you struggle by yourself until you out of the struggle. You know what I'm saying? So again, something that's commonplace for somebody may not be so common for me. So one of the things that I know that I'm working on now that I would need someone to understand is it's not that it's hard for me asking for help. I'm just not used to it. I'm not used to asking for help. Now I'm getting better with it through therapy and through actually, letting people know, hey, I'm not all right. Things are not okay. So when I'm going through something and somebody asks me, hey, how you doing? Especially if it's somebody I feel comfortable talking to, I let them know that it's not all right. I'm not all right. Or I'm going through something. It's been one of them days, or it's been a struggle for me, whatever the struggle may be. I'm learning how to open up because these are not things that I was taught. I was not taught to talk about my feelings. I was not taught to express myself. I was not taught to open up to people. So these are very uncommon concepts to me. Again, I was taught to bottle it up. You bury it. You deal with it on your own. You figure it out. And when you're no longer thinking about it, or when it no longer hurts, or it's no longer affecting you in your day to day thing, that means that you're over it. That means that you've dealt with it. That means that you're done with it. I didn't know how to work through things. I just knew how to bury it and putting as much stuff on top of it until I didn't think about it anymore. That was my understanding of dealing with your feelings or working through your relationship. So that's how I handle things in my relationships. Like if I'm mad at you, I'm not going I'm gonna do my best not to keep bringing it up. I'm just going to try my best to bury it and put other stuff on top of it. Let's go get something to eat. Let's go have a good time. Let's go do something so I can bury whatever just hurt me. And then even more so as a man, you're not taught as a young boy to admit that somebody hurt you, that something hurt your feelings, because now you looked at it soft and emotional and things like that. So again, these are things that I'm learning that for someone who grew up different than I did would seem like it's common sense, would be like, how do you not ask for help? How do you not know how to express yourself in a healthy way? But when you don't see it and when you don't know it, you don't understand that. You don't understand that there's a way to be upset, to be frustrated, to be annoyed with something that someone has done and to express it in a way where you don't have to offend the person who hurt you, or you don't have to assume that the person who offended you intentionally meant to offend you. Maybe they said something that they didn't know offended you, and your first instinct doesn't have to be to immediately snap back or immediately offend them or immediately be disrespectful or go for a lower blow than what they just did to you, because the low blow may have not been intentional on their part. But again, when you come from, what I'm saying, places like where I come from, everything is assumed to be intentional. Every single thing that someone does is assumed to be intentional. You saying something that hurt my feelings, I automatically assume that you meant to hurt my feelings. You knew what you were doing when you said it. So again, you develop those bad habits. So now you're getting into a situation or a relationship or a friendship with someone who doesn't know you, doesn't know certain words trigger you. I have a friend, got a homeboy from Chicago. The word goofy, they is like disrespectful. I don't know if it's all of Chicago that feels that way or just in his neighborhood, whatever the case may be, but he doesn't play about the word goofy. So that's something that we naturally say, man, you goofy as hell for that. Just joking, but that's a word that he takes seriously. And he had to explain to us that that's not a word that they joke about. they don't joke about the word goofy. When you call him goofy, he takes that as disrespect. He takes that, as a serious offense, something that we had to understand. We had to learn, he had to tell us, like, that's not a word that they joke around with for whatever reasons. They have their things. So we had to understand that you gotta, because that was something that I know I know that that's a word that I use a lot. Man, that was goofy as hell. Just instead of saying, man, that was dumb, that was stupid, that was crazy, man, boy, you goofy for that, man. That's real goofy. You know what I'm saying? And I'm glad that he told me, because if I would have said it, obviously it wouldn't have been my intention to try to disrespect him. But it would have come that way. It would have come across that way to him, because that's what that word means to him, you know. But especially if he wouldn't have told us and we would have said it, and now something crazy could happen over a misunderstanding, you know, that. But I guess he knew that, or I guess he heard us saying the word a couple of times, so he just let us know, like, nah, that ain't a word that we use. It means something different where I'm from. So we were able to avoid that misunderstanding, because again, it could have happened and it wouldn't have been intentional, but because of where he comes from, that word is a word of disrespect. And where I come from, you know what I'm saying? And I'm pretty sure it may have been like that way for him. You just assume that as soon as somebody says something disrespectful, that was their intent. Their intent was to disrespect you, when in truth, they may have not known that that was disrespectful to you. You didn't take that word as disrespect. So again, you just develop you develop these bad habits because of where you come from. That's how you have to survive. You're living in survival mode. So you develop those survival skills. So as soon as you disrespect me, now I got to be on you. Whatever that may mean, I have to now be on you about that disrespect, because that's how that's the world that we live in. We live in this world where it's eat or be eaten. You're just not gonna run over me. So as soon as I hear the disrespect, I'm assuming that it's intentional. Now I got to get back at you. And so now you bring that attitude and that energy into this relationship with this person who may not come from where you come from. And now you getting confrontational because they're saying stuff that you may take as disrespect, but they don't know that, because they don't know how they don't know what you define as disrespect. They don't know where your lines are, where your boundaries are. So something that they may joke about may be something that you take very seriously. And because you're bringing you're bringing yourself, because this is who you are, because of where you come from, you're bringing yourself into this relationship, and neither one of y'all understand that the way that y'all were raised is so different that there's no understanding. So on one hand, again, if you come from where I come from, somebody says something, your partner says something crazy, they don't understand why you're so upset. You don't understand why they're saying the things that they're saying, because there's no communication. But again, if you come from where I come from and you have the mindset that I had, everything that you take as disrespect, now I gotta get on you. And I'm not talking about physically, but yeah, now I'm mad, because now I'm feeling like you intentionally trying to disrespect me, or you intentionally trying to belittle me, or little bro me, son me, whatever the case may be. Even though now that I'm older, I can honestly see it as just not understanding. We come from two totally different cultures. We come from two totally different upbringings. So something that I see as disrespect, you may just see as a joke of having fun. Something you may say to one of your homeboys, you may say to one of your homegirls, your friends. Y'all may say it in your family, something that you joke about. When where I come from, we don't joke like that. And now I'm looking at you different, because it's like, are you my friend or my partner, whatever it is, or are you an enemy? Because no friend of mine would say that to me. We don't even joke like that. But at the same time, I'm also just assuming that you know that, because I'm assuming we grew up the same. and my how we grew up in my household and in my neighborhood. I'm assuming you grew up the same way in your household and in your neighborhood. And again, because I never saw understanding, I never saw people lead with understanding and lead with grace. I never knew how to do that. So for me, if I took it as disrespect, then that's just what it was. You trying to tell me that it wasn't is you trying to play in my face, trying to talk about me to my like in my face, trying to talk about me. And then when I'm trying to check you about it, now you trying to lie and say, oh, you didn't say that, or oh, you didn't do that. I never thought for a second, wait, this person didn't grow up the way I grew up. This person didn't grow up in the environments that I grew up. This person didn't grow up seeing the things or hearing the things or doing the things that I did. So why would we be the same? Why can't there be a world where in their household saying this? So we'll just go back to the example that I said, saying goofy would be okay in my household, but in someone else's household, it's not. Like in someone else's household, that's disrespect. But I never, again, I didn't know how to lead with understanding because there was no understanding because everything that I saw, like especially when it came to something like disrespect, you handled it one way. And that was to go check that person out, checking them. And if it stopped there, like, oh, my bad, cool. But if it led to something more, then it led to something more. But you checked the disrespect. Like, no matter who it was, you checked the disrespect. And there was never I'm trying to be understanding. Like, let me be understanding. Let me not assume that this is disrespect. Let me give enough grace and give enough understanding to not just assume that it's disrespect. Let me go ask, let me go figure out, and then genuinely, intentionally try to figure it out. Not saying it in a funny way, because I've seen people ask, but it's not them asking to truly know. It's just asking just to get them to say something because you're already upset. You just want them to say something to make you to make it to try to justify what you're about to do. There are some people, who are already ready to fight because of the disrespect, ready to fight. They're going to ask, what did you mean by that? They, in their heads, they don't really care. It doesn't matter what you say. They just want to hear you say something. And then whatever key word they take from whatever you say is going to justify this punch that they're about to throw, that they've already made in their mind when they were walking up to you, that they're going to throw this punch. But to justify it, let me ask, what did you mean when you said this? But in their head, they already know, they already assume that you meant to be disrespectful when you said whatever it is that you said. But I'm going to let you say something, and that'll be my justification for trying to knock you out for whatever it is that I'm about to do. Your words are going to be the justification. So that's why I'm asking. So I never saw people intentionally trying to understand each other, like while being upset. Like, that offended me, that hurt me, that upset me, but I want to know what you were trying to say, or what message were you trying to convey. I know the way I heard it, I know the way I received it, I know the way it made me feel, but let me ask you what you meant when you said that. Let me ask you what you were trying to say, what you were trying to convey when you said that. I never understood that. I never understood how to do that because I never saw it. It was never a thing for us growing up because, again, you handle disrespect one way. And so going back to, her, it was just, in my opinion, and again, I don't know everything. I only know the little bits that she told me. But from what I understood, it was just a lot of things not communicated with each other and just a lot of misunderstandings because it sounded like he, in his household growing up, he saw things handled a certain way. It sounded like he grew up in a household that had a lot of hate, a lot of anger, a lot of frustration, a lot of vengefulness, a lot of spite, You know what I'm saying? So that's what he grew up around. So he doesn't know how to communicate the best. And that's something that I can relate to because I didn't know how to communicate the best. I can communicate a lot better now. I can also hear something, be annoyed, be frustrated, be upset, and not snap. That was one of the things that I was trying to learn with anger. Just when learning therapy was how to manage my anger and how to communicate better, even while being angry, being able to say, hey, know myself enough to, hey, I want to have this conversation, but I also know that I'm not in the right space emotionally to have a productive and healthy conversation. Just give me some time to, cool down, collect my thoughts. Again, never saw that. Never saw somebody put a pause or a timeout or whatever you want to call it on a conversation because it's getting too heated. I've seen people just go straight into it and cut as low as they possibly can because they're angry or because they're upset or because this person's yelling. So there's just low blow after low blow, um, secret that shouldn't be coming out after secret that shouldn't be coming out. Everybody, they're just telling everything just to try to hurt the other person's feelings even more. And so that's what, crazy enough, but that's what I come from. And I'm not saying it like I'm proud of it, but I'm just being honest, like, and not just in my household, because it's not so much about, but just the environments that I come from. That's how we handle things. It wasn't like, I'm upset right now, but I know that I need to take a break. I know that we don't need to talk right now because I know it wasn't none of that. It was, oh, if we're gonna talk right now, we're gonna talk right now. Whatever comes up is going to come out, and it is what it is, you know. And we didn't care about each other's feelings. You didn't care about the person's feelings that you was arguing with. Even in my last relationship, when we got in that mood of where we're angry with each other, she's done something to me, I've done something to her, and now we're both angry with each other. We don't care what we're saying. We didn't care how we were making each other feel. We didn't care about any of those things. Like, her feelings were not on my mind when I was talking to her. My feelings were not on her mind when she was talking to me. And that was we felt like it was a normal thing. I'm telling you, as crazy as it sounds now talking about it, it did not feel toxic at the time. It felt normal. Did it feel frustrating? Yes. But did it also feel like this is normal? Yes. Because again, I won't speak for her, but I know for me, it was. It was almost every single relationship that I had seen, not just necessarily with like my mom, but with my friends, with my friends' older siblings. You just see that, and that's a part of it. You see the yelling at each other, you see the screaming, you see the fussing at each other. So it's like you go through it. It's like almost like a rite of passage. Like, that's what you do when you're older. You yell at each other, you get frustrated with each other, you get annoyed with each other, you talk about each other, to each other's faces, and you don't care. You get as brutal and as nasty as you can because it's all about winning and it's all about being right. It's not about trying to understand, or at least it wasn't about trying to understand your partner. It was more about being right. You were or winning the argument. Being right and winning outweighed the other person's feelings because you didn't care about the person's feelings. I know, again, in my relationship, that's what it was. We both cared about being right and winning. We didn't care about the cost of each other's feelings and what that would do. We didn't care about the aftermath. We didn't care about the conversation after this argument. We didn't care about how we were going to move forward after this argument. During the argument, the only thing that mattered was that argument and being right about it, or being the one who won it, getting the last laugh, you know, and that's just what it was. So I can understand someone coming from that type of space and trying to be with someone who comes from a healthier, got to see more healthier examples, and got to see what a healthy relationship with healthy communication looks like, healthy partnership, healthy friendships, where they help each other and they don't dig at each other for needing the help and don't make the other feel bad about asking for help. I can understand the gap that can be there between those two worlds because that is a big gap. So something that may seem so simple and so obvious to the person who comes from that healthy space isn't going to be obvious to the person who comes from that toxic space because they don't understand those concepts. They don't understand that because I didn't understand an argument isn't about who's right, isn't about, doesn't have to be, isn't all about being right, isn't all about winning the argument. Sometimes it's a, sometimes you have to put that person's feelings above being right, above winning the argument. Not every argument is worth winning. And that was not something that I understood. That was not something that I mean, obviously you could have said it to me, but I wouldn't have understood what you meant. I would have just been like, oh, okay, just to say it or, just to get to the next topic, but to truly understand and grasp that not every single argument is worth winning. Not every single fight is worth being right over. That, it's not worth sacrificing, making making your friend or your partner feel small just to make yourself feel good about winning an argument or being right about an argument. It's not always worth it. But again, if you talk to somebody who's from those toxic, who was raised in those toxic environments, they don't understand that because all they see is, no, you got to go be right. You got to go fight for yours. You got to go defend this. You know what I'm saying? And that's all a lot of us know. We don't know, hey, this is my partner. Their feelings matter. And again, I know there are going to be people who hear this and it's like, how do you not understand that? And it's like, because we don't see it, we don't understand it. We don't, you don't see those examples at all. Or if you do, it's very little. It's like the outlier. You know what I'm saying? So it's hard to understand something that you don't see. It's hard to grasp something that you're not constantly around. So can I understand the concept of not every argument is worth winning? Not every argument is worth trying to fight so hard to be right or to try to win the argument. Can I understand the concept of it? Yes, sure, I can understand the concept. But to truly understand it, some things, and I know I've said it on here before, some lessons you have to really feel before you understand. Some of these lessons you have to absolutely feel before you get them. So some lessons, they got to hit you, right? So as much as I hate the way we treated each other, me and my ex treated each other in that relationship, it had to happen for me to grow in the ways that I needed to grow to get to where I am. Because I know for a fact without that relationship and without going through what I went through, I'm not here where I am now. I wouldn't be in therapy. I wouldn't be growing in the ways that I'm growing emotionally without that, without going through the things that I went through and the things that I put her through. Those were things that have helped me grow in ways that just talking to me about stuff wouldn't have helped me. I had to feel it. I had to feel the emptiness of losing a lot. Not everything, but losing a lot. I had to feel the emptiness of once I realized it was truly over and the shame that I felt when I realized like how much of a emotional prison I was putting her in. Like one of the things that used to frustrate me is when she would be like, I was so afraid of you. And it used to frustrate me because it's like, but I've never put my hands on you. I've never touched you. I've never pushed you. I've never shoved you. And what I had to realize was it wasn't so much It wasn't physically. It wasn't she was afraid of me physically, but emotionally she was afraid because again, all I knew was you yell at me. I didn't know, hey, I didn't know how to calm her down. Hey, let's talk about it. I didn't know how to lead in that way. I didn't know how to lead, period. I can be man enough to say I did not know how to lead, period. But once now I feel like I'm better. I haven't been in a relationship to test it, but I also know how to handle my emotions a lot better now. But I can understand why she was afraid. It was more of an emotional thing because she didn't know how to she didn't know if she could come to me with things and I would just be able to just hear her and not assume that it's disrespect or not assume that she's attacking me. I didn't know how to take her criticism and her critiques as just that. It's just a critique. It's not her attacking me. It's not her making me out to be the worst person in the world or this villain or this evil person. It's just her letting me know, hey, this is something that you could work on. This is something that makes me feel unsafe. The way that you yell at me makes me feel unsafe. The way that you get so upset when I try to talk to you about things makes me feel unsafe. And again, now I can hear that. I can play those things back in my head, and it's like, it makes sense. Back then, I wasn't trying to hear that because it's like, again, I'm just taking it as her attacking me, and I'm treating her like an enemy instead of treating her like my girlfriend. So I can understand, why, again, when you come from those places and you come from those toxic spaces and all you know is toxicity, that's all you know, you don't see it as toxic. You see it as normal because that's your everyday thing. When you wake up, you don't look at it as survival mode. You just look at it as living. You look at it as life because everybody around you is going through the same thing. It's not like you're out living in a good neighborhood, a quiet neighborhood, and you're the only one in survival mode. And now you're looking around and you're realizing, oh, I don't have to be like this. I don't have to look over my shoulder. I don't have to question every single thing. But when you are in those type of environments, everybody's in that mode. So it no longer feels like survival mode. It just feels like regular life because everybody's going through it. So it feels normal. It doesn't feel like you're in survival mode. It just feels like you're living life. And it isn't until you get to a place where you no longer have to be in survival mode that you realize you spent most of your life in survival mode and you don't know how to live not in survival mode. And that takes adjusting. And I think that that's the part, just again, going back to the coworker, I think that that's the part where he's in a space where his partner is not toxic, did not grow up in toxic environments, and he's now learning, he's now seeing that he's lived in toxicity for a long time, and so now he's trying to make that cross that bridge over to no longer being toxic and trying to live life not in survival mode, and it's an adjustment. And I think that he's doing his best to make that adjustment. And some days, most days may be good, and then there may be a day where he falls back into it because again, it's such a habit, and you're trying to change that, and you're trying to pull a 180. So the best advice that I could give her was just continue leading with understanding and grace, especially since he's trying, because I didn't want her to think that grace, like forgiveness, has to come with a second chance, or you can give somebody grace and understanding, but if they're also not putting in the effort to try, that doesn't mean that you have to stay. But I was just like, as long as he is trying, and again, I was just giving my advice as someone who's not in a relationship and who can admit that the relationships that I have been in did not work. I failed. So by no means am I a relation guru. I've said that on here before, and I'll continue to say it because I mean it. That's why I don't give relationship advice, because who am I to give it? But I just try to give advice, as far as life, things that I've lived, things that I'm going through, things that people go through, things that have helped me, that have helped the people around me. Those are the things that I try my best to talk about. But I say all that just to say, I was just telling her that that doesn't mean that you have to stay there because I'm telling you to lead with understanding and lead with grace. If he's still putting in the work, then great. But if he decides to stop putting in the work because he feels like it's too hard, I'm not telling you to stay. I'm not telling you to go. But what I am saying is if he is trying, then, and I know it's hard and I know that it's frustrating. And I know, especially on days when he has his, like when he falls back into his old habits, I can tell you, I know how frustrating that is. But those are the days when you need that understanding the most, again, especially if he's trying. And you can honestly say, when you see the work that he's putting in, that he is trying, just try that. I think that's when you need that understanding and that grace the most. But I say all of that to say we got to start, and I just mean all of us, not just in relationships, but in friendships and everything, start being understanding, because we don't know what our friends and what our family are going through. We only know what we see. We don't know what type of battles and what type of demons people are dealing with behind closed doors that they just don't talk about because they either feel like they can't talk about it, or it just hurts so much that they don't want to talk about it, whatever the case may be. But we got to start leading with understanding and grace and giving people, patience. That don't mean that if they, especially if they're not trying, that does not mean that you just blindly continue to give people chance after chance after chance. Like I've said about forgiveness does not have to come with a second chance. You just forgive those people. Grace doesn't mean you continue to deal with the same old things over and over again if it's not getting better and they're not changing. Grace just simply means giving people understanding, giving people patience. And again, you can give people understanding and grace from a distance. Does not mean that you have to stay there, but we got to start doing a better job of giving people grace and understanding, because especially when people come from different backgrounds than we do, they see the world different than we do, and there has to be some type of understanding with things like that. But that's it for today's episode. I want to thank everybody for listening on whatever platforms y'all are listening to the podcast on. I appreciate that. I appreciate the love. And to everybody watching on YouTube, I want to thank y'all as well. Please continue to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And until the next time we meet, y'all stay blessed.